So generally, our experience really is, financial services institutions have a lot of legacy systems, and these systems have been built over time. The businesses that these systems supports are really complex. Those workflows have a lot of human interventions, very less automation, and it's also the nature of the industry, right? It's extremely compliance heavy, very regulated. So financial institutions, though they have embarked on a lot of digital transformation, modernization, we believe that the pace is still very slow. And you compare that with new age fintech companies, product companies, they are able to roll out releases hourly. They are able to make product releases much faster. Their speed to market, their ability to collaborate with partners, with the ecosystem is so quick. And I think all of that is also a result of the technology that they are using. And hence, we believe very strongly that financial services enterprises, the traditional enterprises, have still a long way to go, right? Their automation levels are not yet there. In general, the speed of decision making is slowing down their growth. And I think that's really what are the biggest challenges we see from our perspective in this industry.
Yeah, and there's clearly a big ecosystem there that causes a lot of friction for users, both clients and employees. So Mimi, let's take a look at what the friction that employees and the customers can go through day in, day out.
Sure. I think some of the things to think about, sort of the elements that really inhibit people getting things done within an organization, especially within financial services, is that they may need to work with many different types of applications. Some are legacy, some may be new technologies, and they're also working with many types of processes. There may be, compliance protocols that they're trying to stay in touch with. There are manual tasks that they need to do as part of that process. So it really becomes a sense of information overload, where there might be too much information on many different levels in order to interact with multiple applications. So these are some of the key issues. And I think what happens is it slows down a person's overall output. It impacts, people's productivity. So there's a heavy reliance on help desks and maybe subject matter experts within the organization. So, from a human perspective, we really think about what is the reaction or response to this. It's practical in one sense, it's also emotive. It really leads to a sense of kind of helplessness, potential drudgery versus empowerment, which is what systems should be supporting. The tools and the processes are really there to support you as an individual within an organization, not to bog you down. So I think we look at what some of these effects are from a human perspective: lack of motivation, a feeling that the organization may not care. Basically, we know that a sense of control and a sense of progress is something that keeps people happy and keeps employees happy and productive.
Great. So Manish, you have a real world client example that can really illustrate this nicely about the friction caused by having to access many systems. Why don't you take us through that?
Yep. I will pick up from what Mimi said, the frustration of it all, right? That's something that gets to all of us. Here's an example. There's a very large organization, large by most parameters, I believe. They have 1,200 applications. They have close to 8,000 developers. Now, one thing that most of us will know is something called Sec DevOps, right? So you have to check your applications every once in a while to see if they have been right kind of security scan has been done into them, dynamic scan, some kind of testing, and so on and so forth to make sure that they're secure. Now, in this particular case, and by the way, this testing is done sometime in 3 months, sometime in 6 months, sometime in a year, but this is not an everyday job. Now, these developers, when they have to take care of their applications and get this done, they have to figure out, where do I have to go? What do I have to do? What is the first step? What is the second step? And so on and so forth. The information is not quite easily available. If there have been changes made in technology or etc., you have to really search through the emails or something like that. So that makes the whole process more difficult than it has to be. And eventually what happens, people just give up. Like, this is, you try a little bit here and there, then you start looking for help. And eventually the help is provided by people who are expensive resources, who could be doing better things, but now they end up spending time on repetitive tasks, telling everyone what to do again and again. Waste of time, waste of energy, and really slowing down the process. And security has huge implication.
Yeah, absolutely. Noop, you have a similar client example, but in a compliance function that's also just as problematic. Do you want to take us through that one as well?
Yeah, let's look at it. See, one is the whole idea of friction and the slowing down within enterprises, right? But why does some of this happen? So a lot of times the business processes are so complex. In this particular case, this is a very large financial services firm, thousands of analysts who are essentially producing advisory reports, investment reports, for their corporate clients, right? And they have to go through a ton of information. They have to remember a lot of policies, procedures to be able to be effective, to be able to do their job and also produce the kind of outputs that their clients desire. Now, internally, their systems are not just complicated, but also fairly fragmented. So this information is spread out. They have to reach out to multiple sources, and their approval cycles, their change management cycles are largely through emails, right? So that kind of generally slows down things because you're either waiting for somebody to send you an email or send you an approval. And we see that the automation not being there impacts the analyst productivity. Now, this is a high value resource, right? In general, we have seen that almost 25 to 30% of the analyst work day is spent in just chasing people or remembering policies, procedures. They don't have a very easy way to recall that training or that policy or that procedure. Just imagine if those tools were available with them, how productive that analyst would get and how different that whole user experience would be for these people.